Hi, everyone. Hope you're doing well. I'm very happy to have Coach Joseph
Hello.
back in the studio.
Hello.
How have you been?
Yeah, well, very well, thank you. When was the last time I was on? About 2 or 3 months ago?
Yeah, maybe
3 months.
2 months ago, something like that. Yeah.
I don't remember.
Now that was fun, and we are today. Yeah, we're going to talk about something you mentioned, which we're calling the Memento method, which is basically something that can be helpful when you kind of on your path towards sleeping better. We'll get into that in detail, of course. But before that, your first book is out. You mentioned that you may be thinking of a second one. Audiobook is out. What's happening?
So you can sleep too. That's out. So ebook and paperback, and the audiobook hit the shelves. I think it's about 5 days ago. The audiobook's out as well. So yeah. So
Very cool.
yeah.
And you mentioned how you're not the one reading it. You send the manuscript to like a company. They have a couple of people kind of read it through. And what type of voice did you go for? And what was the process like?
Traditional British. It's really, he was good actually. So he's been in a few British soap operas here. He's a theatre actor as well, and been on quite done television as well. So Philip Batley is his name, but yeah. So he was most of the people were good, but there's a few voices that he was doing. He was spot on. So for
All
the
right.
first probably 20 seconds I heard him, I said, yeah, you're it. So
Excellent.
yeah, but very British voices.
Very cool. Well, I'll link to the book and your YouTube channel as well in the description here, of course. But yeah, that said, let's jump into this. So take us to like take us to kind of the beginning of this idea with the Memento method, and
We came up with the name. So you said you nicked it from my book, so I was going to ask you exactly how you've refined it and what you've done with it. So I was going to ask you.
yeah, I can start actually. So it's actually funny because Ali, I think you didn't overlap with her, but you may have seen her on the channel. But she and I had a conversation about based on the Matrix movie, and like you take the red pill, the blue pill, and all that. Yes, they now when I heard you Joe talk about like how uh, you actually found your diary helpful when you started having a little trouble sleeping after having started to do better, because you had sort of like doctored it in a way, like you'd purposely wrote about things that were kind of like positive and encouraging. That made me think of this movie called Memento, which like for those of you who haven't seen it, it's about this guy who he has like basically no long-term memory. Like every night he sleeps and he forgets everything from the previous day, and he finds that he has to write things down, and then he has to like start from zero every morning. And at the end of the movie, there's this moment where you realize that he decides to kind of fabricate reality, so that and something like that. So that's why I came up with that the Memento method idea. But yeah, you can take it from there.
So I was so in my diary, I was just everything I twisted round so it was positive because I think when you're struggling with sleep, it's easy to criticize yourself. But actually, in the fact you're even you're on that path and doing these behavior changes after. So I had mine for 20 years. So the fact that I was even on that path, it was helpful to me in that diary just write down the successes. And even if it wasn't so, if I had a bad night where I didn't do the behavior changes, so I slept in late or I didn't go to bed when I was sleeping, I'd still put that down as a success somehow, just to. So I'd say I did that last night, and because I've done that, that's strengthened my desire to do it well the next night. Or normal sleepers don't get up at the same time every single day, and I didn't get up at the same time this morning. So that must be it. I mean, I'm a normal sleeper, and it was just helpful just to write down every single success. So if I had a poor night's sleep, but I got up and I did exercise anyway, then I would write that down as a success. Or if I didn't cancel that meal out, I'd write that down. And so if you've got 2, 3, 4 weeks of only positivity written down in your diary, start training your brain that sleeplessness isn't a threat. Um, isn't Do you know any of the psychology behind the writing stuff down and how that affects your thought patterns, or do you know anything around that?
I mean, I would say like it's very similar to like affirmations, and I can't say I have studied that in any formal way, but my belief around that is basically that if you find something, if you note something that you believe is true, and it's something like, oh, actually, I had a pretty good day today, even after I didn't sleep much, then you can affirm that by kind of telling somebody or writing it down, and it kind of gives you a little extra boost. But that's and I want to talk more about this, of course, the benefits and the potential pitfalls with the Memento method here. But that's kind of all I know, if you will.
Mm. But and just being able to see 4 weeks of positivity it was really so when I did slip back into that so I'd been sleeping well for 4 weeks, and I've been writing down everything positive around that, even when I had those occasional poor nights sleep, which everyone, even good sleepers, will still get from time to time. But every single day I'd written down 4, 5, 6 of my successes that I'd had with that. So I was still, I wasn't at the stage where I'd obviously overcome my insomnia, because if I had have completely left that, then I wouldn't have been having to write that down in the diary. But I was sort of on the up and coming out of it during this time. And then I um, had a stressful event, and then all my old behaviors went back to how they were before my sleep course, and all my thought patterns went back to how they were. And I was probably in the hole for about 2 weeks. I had that setback or speed bump for about 2 weeks. And yeah, it was that diary that I'd taken for about 4 or 5 weeks after my course finished that kind of pulled me out of that, because I just read through everything I'd written down, and it reminded me, actually, no, I can speak really well. And I can speak really well because I was doing these old behaviors, and because I was getting up in the morning and exercising, going to bed and sleep. So I was doing the timeless night, I was doing the buffer zone. And just seeing that all in paper was just enough to make me realize that actually, no, I was a good sleeper. Because I think that's all you need sometimes, is that belief that you can sleep well. Because when you're in the thick of it, you focus on the fact you can't sleep. That's in the book as well. So talking about the reticular activating system, the threat monitoring system, you focus on what is most immediate and most right there in front of you. And at that time, when I was in the pit of not sleeping, what was most immediate and what was most threatening to me was the fact that I couldn't sleep. So I needed to shift that focus onto something else, which is why that diary I found was incredibly helpful.
And was that just kind of like a random idea to just write down things that were positive in that diary?
Yes, I wasn't told to do that, but I think I just started one day. I thought, well, I'll just put, oh, I had a really good night last night, so let's just put that down. So I mean, I just put down what time I woke up and the fact that I exercised. And then I had about 3 or 4 of these where I was writing really positive things. And then I had a poor night's sleep. And I was like, wow, I don't want to write that down. And I don't want to write down my behaviors. So I'm just going to write down the things that I did do well that day. And the things that I did do well is that I was quite, so I had music. I think I had music on that night. I was going to see a live band. And I would have normally gone, no, I can't go out and see that band tonight because I didn't sleep well the previous nights, but I went anyway. And so, oh, okay, well, that's a really good mindset shift from how when I first started. So I put that down as something positive. And I exercised during the day, and I ate well as well. So even though my behaviors weren't I'd got up late that previous morning. Even though they weren't perfect, they were good enough. So I just put that down as a success, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. And yeah, I kept it up for about 4 weeks or so. Yeah, it was really helpful.
And then again, just to kind of reiterate what you said, this became helpful then when, you know, so many that have gone through a course like you did or some kind of program doing better, there's almost always that kind of like a speed bump or like you know, some, and then you can go back, look at that diary, and as you said, like when the brain is trying to fix a problem, it kind of gets stuck in that, like, I got to fix this, as a problem, this is a threat, and then you can see that, oh, wait a minute, maybe there isn't such a big of a threat. Maybe there isn't a threat at all, right? It can be helpful in that way. Now,
yeah. So quickly, because I'd slept well, so I had all this evidence I'd slept well for 4 weeks. No, even longer, so the course as well. So I'd slept well for a long, long time. And just those few weeks of sleeping poorly, it was suddenly like I'd completely erased all of that I'd done before. And that was the only thing I could see that was right in front of me. So it did switch so quickly, and that is, I think, when you're just out of insomnia, because you've got so much to lose, you kind of worry and fear that you're going to slip back to how you were to begin with. So I think if a setback were to happen to me now, because I'm 2 years out of my insomnia, it wouldn't have such an emotional attachment. That setback, it wouldn't mean that I'm insomniac again, because I've had 2 years where I've been free from those thought patterns and behavior. But so immediately after my course finishing, it was a lot more threatening at that time, I think. So it was
yeah, 100%. And you use the word meaning, which I think is so important, because when you had trouble sleeping for a long time, you're doing better, and then you don't sleep at all for one night. It's this meaning. Oh, this means that it's back. This means I'm doing something wrong, which it doesn't at all. It's just a little residual fear. But very good point. Now, you know, I wanted to kind of talk about, okay, someone who hears this and says like, okay, this is interesting, like the Memento method sounds a little exotic, but it's quite straightforward. But who should consider like, oh, maybe I should do this, and what are the potential kind of pitfalls here that you see? I'll have some ideas about this, but I'll let you go first. What are your thoughts on that one?
I think it doesn't take long to write it down, and it's something that you can keep. I suppose some of the pitfalls is it can make you focus on sleep more. So you've got to be careful what you. So sleep is making no effort to sleep whatsoever. So if you're writing it down, then you are focusing on your sleep. But I think as long as it's the right focus, as long as it's not scrolling through internet articles or worrying or stressing about sleep, ideally you want to get to a point where you're not focusing on sleep at all, and it doesn't even enter your brain. But for me, I found that really hard to go from being insomniac to not focusing on sleep at all. So that's kind of like the step in the middle, where you're focusing on sleep in a positive way. So I suppose a pitfall is it can draw more attention onto your sleep. And another one is if you don't believe what you're writing down. So if you're just lying to yourself, then it can. But you're not lying to yourself, because there's always going to be something positive that you. So you're not making up stuff that isn't true. You're turning it in a way to make it positive. So it's not like you have to believe something that isn't real, because even if you had a dreadful night and you did everything wrong, but that evening you think, well, next night I'm going to get up and same time, then just that thought that you're going to do it, because then that's enough to write down something positive. So don't make something up when you do it. Yeah.
I thought of it, in very similar terms. Like this could be helpful for somebody who's like started a program or tuned into this channel or started kind of their path towards sleeping well, and it resonates. Like, oh yeah, that sounds like that's something that could really be helpful to me. And you like and just that honesty, being like honest and going, because the pitfall to me is, like you said, if someone hears this and says, oh my gosh, this is the solution, and I've got to write down positive things so I maintain my sleep, and like it becomes this effort, and then it's a little tricky. But I think anyone who hears this and says like, that sounds helpful to me, and I can be honest, I don't lie about things, but I can always find something that's positive, just like you said. I think this could be something helpful for sure.
And it's and like with everything you teach, it's just there when you need it. And then, because I don't do it now, I mean, I haven't done it for 2 years, but if you feel that it's helpful to you and you need it, then I think anything you find helpful is something positive, as long as it's the right thing, you know.
Exactly.
So many things that I thought were helpful and positive that were incredibly damaging to my sleep. But yeah, no, I think it's I now so I don't do that, but I now keep a diary every single day, and that's chocked with all the things that I find incredibly positive, and that I found has been really helpful. I've been keeping that for about 6 months now.
Oh yeah, just a general diary of good.
General diary, so not about the day, but just the good. So I only write positive things in it that I was that went well that day, or I was happy about, and it definitely over time it shifts your mind to, because I think as humans we do tend to focus on what's wrong and what's missing and what is going, and that's the caveman mind, because you're always looking out for threats and danger and wanting more and to keep you safe. So, but shifting your mind with, I think Oprah Winfrey kept a diary as well. She did. She had a hard. I mean, I've read a lot about her, and she keeps one every day, and she's done pretty well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, yeah, 100%. And just going back to like, again, like somebody who's listening in here, like, should I do this or not? I think, and I think this is a general thing. Like, if you kind of like listen to that inner voice and ask yourself, does this feel like a step towards eventually letting go and freedom and not worrying? Then it's helpful. But if you feel like, oh no, I think I'm creating some kind of effort for myself, maybe not. But if it feels like a step towards freedom, sounds really nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I think we can conclude there. And anyone who has comments, questions, thoughts, like, please leave them in the comment section. And otherwise, Joe, I know you said summertime you were going to do some, was it diving or surfing instruction?
Surf instructing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've got 2 lessons tomorrow, but yeah, but it's not glamorous. It's all like, I think about 7 or 8-year-old kids normally, and quite whingy, some of them, but it's not glamorous at all. And it's England, so normally it's raining, but
Right. But you said, I don't know if that's changed, but I think your plan was maybe after the summer you were gonna perhaps
I'll be taking on clients. So around about the autumn time, I'll be taking on clients then, and I'll be doing that one-to-one over Zoom. And so yeah,
sounds really cool. We'll announce that when you're live with your program as well, and we'll go from there. So yeah. Again, I'll post all the links in the comments, and thanks so much for coming on, Coach Joseph.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.